to kind of like make that, like, show that the larger point of that, like, that part of me, that is like, rough as it seems at the time, now going forward, that's translated into so many other parts of my life where I never really had a problem waking up for school in high school, when a lot of kids like don't really like turn their brain on until like 10 or 11 a.m. when they go to school sometimes. But I was always like ready to go because I was used to doing it when I was younger. And then like now I'm a big runner and I always run super early in the morning, and I love like running as early as possible as the light will allow. And so like though that kind of thing that was such a hard experience when I was young, hard meaning like I was a kid, what else did I have to do that day after waking up? But you
Right.
know, doing that then now is translated to like real life things that made my like adult life easier.
Totally. That's a huge life lesson right there.
Totally.
Any other lessons you had, learning hockey as a kid?
That, I mean, there's a ton. There's a ton. I mean, it's hard to even quantify it, but those are kind of the early days. But I remember another cool thing was the people I met, like the friends I made, and it was like the first time, because you're kind of just getting to like school age then too, so you're just getting to that part of your life, but just being able to hang out with kids doing like an activity that I loved, or I was like, this is my like safe space to just go crazy and have the most fun I could possibly have. It was like eye opening, where I could like see what I could achieve and what I could do when I was with people I really liked doing the thing I
Right.
loved the most.
Totally. And I think, that's why a lot of the guys we grew up playing with, they're pretty successful people now. I mean, when you have something that you love so much, right? Like we had no problem getting up early to go to the rink because we're playing hockey and we love it. It's so much easier to teach those lessons, those lifelong lessons that you learn from the sport, right? I mean, if we didn't like hockey, then we probably wouldn't have listened to those lessons. But, just the fact that our parents let us just hang out all the time. We met other kids that had similar interests in us. I mean, it was just a blast. You're not even really at that age. I don't even think you're thinking about learning those lessons. You're not. It's just something that becomes a part of you. I mean, are you starting to notice that, Pat, with your kids?
Yeah, I mean, just watching Simon practice this morning, you fall down, you get back up. You're not going to lay on the ice forever, even though sometimes it kind of feels good to just lay on the ice. It's nice and cool and you're hot and sweaty, but you get back up, and you take your lumps. And the first time you try something, you're not able to get that Mohawk drill, but the next time it gets a little bit easier and it gets a little bit easier. I think there's perseverance, and we talk about grit all the time. It's a gritty sport. And the three of us coming from a gritty area of the country, it's just compounded. But I mean, perseverance, hard work, grit, the social aspect, you guys are still friends, and you learn how to be a good person. You learn how to be friends with people on and off the ice. Great lessons.
Yeah. I think that like that's totally true, and especially like Jesse, I think you're probably the same as me in this, is that when I started with hockey, it was not super intense training. I was never considered too much with the technical side of things. Like I really just wanted to have fun and I loved it. And my parents like were very much on that same page. Like my dad wanted me to like love the like sort of the romance of hockey and the fun part of it and the culture, but the real like working on my technical stuff didn't come until like a few years later. And I think that really set the base for then to be able to like really get into the academic side of the sport and figure that out. Right. But just in the beginning, to have like coaches and parents that were there just because it's fun was hugely helpful.
Totally. I mean, I remember your dad making the rink in the backyard. Remember that?
Yeah. That's some hard stuff, to wake up in the middle of the night in winter and just take the hose out there and flood it. Oh my gosh. That was so cool. But I would like what I would pay for that right now. Like when we determined we're moving up to Oregon, one of the first things I looked up is like, can you make ice in Portland in the winter time? Like, does it get cold enough? Because I was like, if we get a house, like we could flood the backyard. And it doesn't. It's not good. You have to go up to the mountains for it. But I've thought about it because it was so fun.
That's awesome. It's a blast. And now it's going to make you a great dad someday, right?
Hopefully.
If your kid wants to play hockey, not saying
yeah.
that. Whatever they want to do, you're probably just going to want to support them and make sure they have a blast with it. I mean, what a great lesson that is you got from Mr. Stoney Richard.
But that was, the first time taking Simon, I still get feelings like this, taking him to the rink early in the morning. I mean, I have memories of doing that at batting cages. The same type of feeling, as a kid. I'm sure Simon's feeling that same way. So I lived kind of vicariously through him, or relive some of my childhood going to indoor soccer and all kinds of things like that. It's very reminiscent of that. But there's one thing that I would like him to experience, and he hasn't really had much experience with this, is in a climate that's cold and snowy. That you wake up early in the morning, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it's just dead silent. There is nothing like that. And when you grow up and you reach the point where you're able to drive in that stuff, you hate it. but you have to remember all those good times in that snow to keep you coming back. Is like, there's something about that snowfall that's completely dead silent.
Yeah. And it's dark and it's early and you're just like, what am I doing awake right now? But then you get there and you get on the ice or you go to whatever you're doing and you're like, it was all worth it. Like it's totally all like part of the journey.
Yeah.